Hi everyone, I'd like to go over the answers to the questions for I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Our first one says, all of the following are characteristics that prove I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud is a poem, except, so you had to find the incorrect or the false answer. In this case, it is narrative. Narrative just means it's telling a story. And as you know, we've read many stories this year, and you have in the past as well. So that doesn't indicate that it is a poem. It's just a form of fiction, or even nonfiction can tell a story. Rhythm, rhyme scheme, and stanza form all indicate poetry or verse. The rhyme scheme of the first stanza of the poem is A, B, A, B, C, C. Now, how you find rhyme scheme is if you look at the last words in each line. So our last word in the first line is cloud, and we are going to assign that the first letter of the alphabet, A. You will always start with A. Then look at the second line's last word, hills. Does that rhyme with cloud? No. So you put a B. Go to the third, crowd. Does crowd rhyme with cloud? Yes, it does. So we put that as an A. Daffodils, that rhymes with hills, so that's another B. Trees, does that rhyme with cloud or hills? Nope. So you are going to assign that a C. And then our last line, breeze, that rhymes with trees, so that gets a C as well, leaving us with a rhyme scheme of AB, AB, CC. Lines 10 through 14 help the speaker describe what? So if you look at those lines, along the margin of the bay, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. If you look at the different words that are being used here, so we have 10,000 saw I at a glance. Well, what's he talking about? He's talking about the daffodils. He's saying they're tossing their heads or the petals in sprightly dance so that they are energetically swaying in the wind, right? And even compared to the waves, they're even more beautiful, and there's so many more flowers than there are waves. So this indicates that this is the beauty and abundance of the flowers. What poetic device is used at the end of the second stanza? Since it indicates the end, let's look at the last 3 lines of the 6-line stanza. We have along the margin of the bay, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So you have to think about what Wordsworth is describing here. What is he seeing dancing along the margin of the bay? These are the flowers. So the flowers are being described with having heads. These are their petals. Right? And they are dancing very energetically, very happily as well. These are human characteristics, and therefore this is personification more so than imagery. Continuous as the stars that shine, which is line 7 in the poem, contains an example of what? Is this a metaphor, personification, simile, or dialogue? Well, this is a simile because if you look, we have 2 things that are being compared, 2 unlike things being compared, but it's using one of those comparing words as. Okay, so how the abundance of the daffodils are being compared to all the stars in our night sky that never stop shining. Just like these daffodils are so beautiful and vivid and happy that they never stop either. And there's so many of them that there's this abundance of them that makes it seem like it's never ending, just like the stars in the night sky. Lines 19 through 22 create a feeling of what? So again, we're talking about an emotion here. So when you're looking at emotions and feelings, pay attention to the diction or the word choice. For oft when on my couch I lie, so he's relaxing on the couch, in vacant or in pensive mood, so he's thinking, they flash upon that inward eye, which means the mind, which is the bliss of solitude, right? Solitude is lonely, but he's saying that it's the bliss of it, so he is enjoying being alone and to himself. So this creates a feeling of thoughtfulness. He's not sad. It says nothing about being selfish, and nothing about being forgetful. So since it talks about him relaxing on the couch, thinking, it mentions the mind, this is thoughtfulness. What does the word jocund mean as it is used in context? So if you don't know what a word means, sometimes you can look at the language that is surrounding it. So in this case, we're going to look at some context clues to determine this meaning. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So the waves are dancing, right? Dancing is usually associated with happiness and energy. And it says with they, meaning the flowers, outdid the sparkling waves in glee. And the poet could not be but gay. So glee and gay here indicate that happiness once again. So jocund, because of all these things, the words and the actions that are being described, indicates that it is cheerful. Let's try another word in context. So now we're looking at the word pensive. For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye which is the bliss of solitude. So looking at the other words and phrases being used in this stanza, what do you think pensive means? Let's try to eliminate some things. Does he ever talk about being angry as he's lounging on the couch? No, so we can eliminate A. Is he nervous about something? Does he have anxiety? Nope. So we can eliminate C. So now we're left with B or D. Now it does say it's a pensive mood, which means that he's thinking. It mentions inward eye with the mind. However, he's lounging on the couch and he's saying that this is the bliss of solitude. Now, analytically refers to breaking something down into parts, into bits. Sort of how you're doing here. You're breaking things down line by line to figure out the meaning. Is he really thinking that hard about something? Is he really trying to break something down to figure it out? No. In this case, especially because of the bliss of solitude, we can see that pensive in this context means dreamily thoughtful. And sorry, my dog Sina just chimed in to agree. Okay, let's figure out the tone of the entire poem. When we look at tone, we're trying to figure out the attitude that the speaker or the author has toward its subject or a character or the audience. In this case, it's toward its subject. So we're talking about the daffodils. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is diction, which is word choice. Words like floats, fluttering, dancing, sparkling, jocund, bliss, solitude, and pleasure all have positive connotations, meaning that these are positive, good, strong, pleasing words that have emotional connections to them. So we know that this tone is going to be something that is positive, something that we look forward to. Because of that, we can eliminate A with bitter. We can probably even eliminate anxious, because if you're anxious about something, that's not necessarily positive because you're worried about something. So now we're left with blissful or mysterious. Another way that you look at tone is to interpret figurative language and imagery. So here are just 3 examples, starting from the beginning. We have white puffy clouds that are floating above. This indicates a very peaceful scene. We have bright yellow daffodils that are dancing or swaying in the wind. It's showing that this is beautiful scenery and it's very serene. And our third one, we have many stars twinkling nonstop, to compare that to these beautiful, vibrant flowers and how many of them there are. So it's sort of mesmerizing. Once again, positive connotations. So we can see that this is blissful. It's almost like paradise for our speaker. And finally, we'll finish it with the theme. So the theme, we're talking about the entire poem once again. Think about what the poem has been about. Daffodils, right? It even mentions clouds, it mentions waves. So we can get rid of a couple things, right? Too much of a good thing is counterproductive. That has nothing to do with what we've been talking about. What about memories often have a negative impact? Well, when we went to talk about tone previously, and even some of those words with vocab and context, we noticed that these were positive things. So this is positive impact, not negative. So we can eliminate C as well. Now we're left with A and B. So nature's beauty can make us happy, or springtime is the best time of the year. Well, what is Wordsworth trying to say about these daffodils? How do they make him feel? We can see that he's saying nature's beauty can make us happy. So how'd you do? Hopefully you did pretty well, and if not, that's okay, because we will continue to work on this and practice so that you do get better. Before we do that, though, we're going to take a look at a constructed response, and we'll see if you can collaborate first to come up with what would be best to put in the constructed response, and then you will evaluate former constructed responses to see which ones you think are better than the others and why.